Welcome to today's Christian music broadcast with Tyler Garth.
Hello and a good day to you all. I hope you're enjoying some beautiful spring weather like we finally are up here in Michigan. I am thrilled to have with us today Nashville-based singer-songwriter Erskine Anivitarte. Are you with us, Erskine? Well, that's my fault. We go. Are you with us, Erskine?
I'm still here.
You're still here. Well, I know you told us a moment ago, but the host here forgot to hit the button. But we're thankful to have you with us. I know it's a little earlier where you are than where we are, but that's like we like to get up early and get in the presence of the Lord. And today we'd like to get the message of the Lord out and His testimony through you and the work of Christ, what He's done in your life. And I just want to thank you again for coming on the program.
Keep on going and going. So. Yeah.
All right. And if I remember correctly from speaking to you the other day, you are currently on tour down in Texas. How's that been going for you?
Yes. Yeah, a great international trip for us in the nation of Texas, and we're really enjoying it down here. Had some Whataburger and some Mexican food, so I don't think you can. You can do better than that.
Texas. Okay.
The nation.
All right.
You can tell I'm
Yes, that's that. What did you call that burger? I'm not sure I even know what that is. I'm gonna have to have one when I go down there.
So for all your listeners, you can Google "what a burger." It's all just one word, kind of jammed together. And
okay,
it is precisely fast food, but it's precisely the best fast food I think I've ever had.
And it's specifically Texan. Is that?
I think so. I haven't really seen it anywhere else. So when I crossed the border, I started looking for a Whataburger.
All right. So where in Texas are you from?
Central Texas.
Are you
town of Temple, Texas?
Now, Erskine, were you raised in church? Did you come to know Christ at a later point in life? How did that come about?
I was raised in church. Like a lot of folks are raised in church. You go to church because that's culturally what you do down in the South. I know that might sound strange for some people, but yes, you're actually kind of expected to go to church on Sunday because what else would you do on Sunday? And so, yes, just grew up in that atmosphere of cultural Christianity. And, I often share my testimony and say there's a lot of things about church that I hated as a kid growing up. It certainly wasn't convenient, and it didn't match my time schedule. And without knowing Christ as a young child, a lot of the cultural things just were missed on me. They still are.
Yeah. So what was it? I don't mind asking either. What you don't have to tell me.
What
were a few of the things when you were a kid? What were a few of the things when you were a kid that you hated about going to church? What was it that got under your skin?
Well, so those of you who are probably out there listening, you're going to hear, if you don't already know, that I'm a Christian music artist. And so I've always kind of had a sensitive ear toward music and sound, and for some reason we had this sound system that was it was more than broken. I don't know why we were even using that thing. It was terrible. And in a traditional African-American context, the pastor was yelling all the time, very loudly.
Okay.
And there was a lot of sound and activity that was going on, and it was just straight cacophony in my ears. And I'm not saying anything about black gospel. It's great, the style of music or even the kind of preaching. But in that particular moment in my life, I just found those things grating on me. I didn't like old people because I felt like they were weird. I felt like they smelled weird. And then one of my biggest annoyances was I had these penny loafers that I was made to walk to church in. But as a young boy, you're always growing. And so constantly you're outgrowing your shoes. But for some reason, they developed this thing called a slipper spoon, where you actually put your heel in the spoon and then you just like jam your foot in there. And I remember them using that as torture for me as a young boy. And so I just remember being so uncomfortable in church. I didn't like the atmosphere. I didn't like the people. I didn't like clothes. I didn't like anything about what was going on there. And so I am definitely, I'm definitely.
Tell me what changed it.
I'm able to see a definite contrast between what was and what is, and then obviously what became at the age of 12. I was a bad boy. I mean, I'm still kind of a Jesus bad boy, but I was a bad boy and got kicked out of school and was in a situation where all of the Bible teaching that I had received when I was a young boy just sort of kept coming back to me. There was various people who made an installment of Christ in my life, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through Bible reading, or whether it be through actually just living in life apart from Sunday.
Yeah.
That was something that I'd really not seen. And I'm not trying to throw my family under the bus, but that's just not anything that we did. Sunday was Sunday, and then the rest of the week you just kind of did whatever you wanted to do. And so just being able to see some of those positive examples of Christ at the age of 12, surrendered my life to Christ, and just the best that I knew how, got down on the
So was that at the same church that you had to walk to in your penny loafers and
no, it wasn't.
Didn't like the sound system, and was it somewhere else?
No, I was at my house, in the solitude of my own room. It's just me and the Lord, and just definitely hearing His voice, definitely understanding that I was a sinner. There was no controversy there in my mind about that, and just realizing that, I had a strong desire to follow Christ, and then also not just follow Christ, but I felt like the Lord was telling me that there really is a narrow way, and few find it. There's even a lot of people in my family today, as we're doing this interview, who have not found Christ. Yeah. The broad road that leads to destruction. So that became very real.
You found it. You're got your finger on the button, and that scripture it rarely even seems used anymore because people don't like the word narrow, but it is a narrow way. And I have to say, anytime something significant has occurred in my life, spiritually or otherwise, and most everything else is connected to the spiritual side, at least when you're walking with Christ, has come about as a result of other people praying for me. Sometimes my own prayers, but so often because other people were crying out to God for me. There had to be somebody, brother, it was either some saint of God in your church who was putting up with the yelling and the sound system that knew Jesus, and they were praying for you, whether it was in your family, whether it was grandma, or whether it was a sweet old lady or old man in that church who saw what was going on in your life and praying for you. Really, it's very unique, and I'm sure you already know that, and more unusual that you would simply come to Christ on your own, in your room, at home, rather than in a Sunday school class or at an altar or at a church camp. In fact, was that it when you gave your life to Jesus? You knew that was the moment you were saved, or did you have those times of going forward again and searching for?
No, we don't play that around here. I've not ever been a person that's easily persuaded. I think that's probably why kind of independent artistry kind of makes so much sense to me. Is like, you don't have to tell me what to do. Like, the Spirit of God will tell me what to do, but I'm just going to go ahead and mention her name for all the world to hear, to the ends of the earth.
Yes.
There's a lady by the name of Flora Stowers who had 13 kids, and I affectionately called myself her 14th kid because I was always at their house. And when I tell my fuller testimony, I realized that, her house was always chaos. We were always running around and getting into mischief. And one day she invited me to dinner with them. So I thought, this will be fun. And then I realized that everybody sat down at the table and got quiet. I'd never seen that before at this house. And then they bowed their heads and they started praying. And I'm kind of looking around going, what are they doing? Who are they talking to? And realized that they were actually talking to the same Jesus that was talked about on Sunday. But I thought, this doesn't happen except on Sunday. What are they doing? And she pulled out a Bible and she began to read it. And I just know that there's many occasions when I would go to her house in the morning to walk to school with her kids. She would have her Bible open. She would begin sharing with me things that the Lord was showing her. She prayed for me. She invited me to church very often. I tried to get away from her so she wouldn't invite me in those early years. But, there was people like her that prayed for me and made a significant difference, like you said.
Hallelujah. And
so, I did waffle.
I think
there was no waffling after that. I'm pretty.
Now, did you happen to go and share that with with this family after you gave your life to Christ?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We've been in contact numerous occasions since then, and it's it's been one of those kind of neat stories how the Lord, when you hear about saints and people who have prayed, and people who have prayed people into the kingdom of God, I can definitely resonate with that.
That's right. So those out there listening, don't give up. That's why I tell people, you have that loved one you've been praying for years, or that friend or that person you're concerned about, your prayers are being heard. And I remember one pastor with a unique experience that the Lord was dealing with him about prayer for other people, that God will continually try to bring that person around to a point of decision. And if they bypass it, bring them back around again and again. Don't give up praying. You're listening to two people on the radio right now whose lives were changed by those prayers. Erskine, tell
Absolutely.
me what got you going in music. Was that something that was a part of your life growing up, or did it hit you later in your teen years?
No, I don't want to get the story backwards, but I did junior high band, played trombone, started singing a little bit, not much there, but did high school band, high school wind ensemble, high school jazz band. But I was always one of those, instrumentalists and people in music who it always seemed like, what could have been, because I was also a basketball player and a basketball, standout. I received a basketball scholarship at East Tennessee State University. Part of my.
And so, did you go to the university and play basketball?
Yes, I was on a basketball scholarship, and so there's a lot of things that I bypassed in high school by way of musical accolades because my basketball coaches and also my music teachers at the time felt like it would be better for me to pursue sports at the time, and so I did. I enjoyed it and was certainly good at it. And then I got to East State, and I was in the marching band, the wind ensemble, the jazz band, the men's ensemble, and other singing groups. And so that was really where, for what it is that I'm doing now, college was sort of a launch pad for me to be able to experience all different types of music, start writing music, begin singing and figuring out the music industry. And so those were some of the early foundations.
All right. So early, and I noticed you went on to get a Master's of Divinity after attending. So was your degree? What was your degree at East Tennessee State University?
I got it.
What was the degree in it, and then what moved you to go on to seminary?
They should have created a degree called Hard Knock Life, because that's really what that was in college. Because when I came to faith at the age of 12, I was just under the impression that everybody would be like I was, so excited to tell people about Jesus. And I realized from the age of 12 on through high school that not everybody is so excited about Christianity and following Christ.
That's right.
I certainly was. And then I came to college, and I felt like, hey, here's a good opportunity for me to tell everybody. And I don't have any restrictions about what time to go to bed. I'm telling everybody all the time about Jesus. And college just doesn't work that way. People are not excited about you telling them anything about Christ or that there's any lack in their lives. They just kind of break through all the restraints in their lives. And I just got really in a place where I was ridiculed a lot. I'm not even going to use the word persecuted, because that would be a disrespect to my brothers and sisters in other places in the world. But it really cost me something in college to be a follower of Christ. And I'm so glad that I had to endure those 4 years there.
Yes.
Because it forged a follower of Christ who's just not going to flinch. I'm just not going to flinch.
Put some steel in your backbone. I'm going to tell you, Erskine, I think I get concerned when there's a Christian young person who is not somewhat ostracized in high school or in college for their faith. It causes me to wonder sometimes, are they really walking with Jesus? Because as you've mentioned, you walk with Jesus, people, they're not going to accept it. This is a dark and fallen world, and you are shining bright with the light of Christ. And nobody likes the light shining in their eyes when they wake up in the morning and somebody flips the light on. And
just to give, Yeah, just to give you a quick story. So my major, to answer your question, was public relations, and I minored in speech. That's the best that I could do, thinking that I would have a life where I was having to interact with some public and then having a life where I was going to need to speak to people at some point or communicate with them. That was my earthly degree there, but behind the scenes, there was such a spiritual battle that was taking place with a lot of my professors who had come out of liberalism. I remember them handing me books, because we would exchange books quite often, because I'm always the guy raising my hand in class and saying, you said this, but actually, and so we were exchanging books pretty constantly, and I had, lesbian, liberal professors that were, atheist professors in my philosophy classes, and I would just either confront them in class or I would confront them during office hours, and it just really became one of those situations where the spiritual battle within the spiritual battle was one that was intense when I was in college, and I don't imagine that it's gotten any better on college campus. It was certainly a forging.
The movies God's Not Dead and God's Not Dead Too. Those are very realistic. And even when I was in school back in the 80s, in college, it was intense then as well. And it's been some time since then. But there is so much to share, and I'm going to move us along so we can get to your song and talk some about what God's doing in your music ministry now, and then some of your other. Some of the other areas where your heart is, the areas that you're an advocate for. You talking about what Christ did in your life, you've written a song recently, Grace Made the First Move. You just give us a word on what brought that about, and I'm gonna play that for the audience, and we'll talk about your music ministry.
That song is just steeped in just good theology. You had mentioned that I'd gone on and gotten a master's degree after college. I did. It took me a long time to get it. And my wife, who also has a master's degree, was a far better student than I was. But I received a master's degree. I think they wanted to get rid of me. But just steeped in the theology of understanding that this is the Lord who comes and seeks us and finds us and does the work of salvation. And, it's not us bringing our own efforts or bringing our own best achievement to the Lord and saying, hey, will you accept this? But it's just us and our brokenness. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And so just internalizing that and then putting that to theme and song, I feel like of all the songs that I have, this song is just kind of, sometimes I'll throw a curveball because I'll start a song and you'll say, is this even a Christian artist? Or I'll start a certain style of a song and people are going, hey, what's he doing? This song, I just threw a fastball right down the middle.
All right. Well, here it is. Grace Made the First Move by Erskine Anivitarte.
I'm a self-made man with my well-laid plans, and I was taught to do it on my own. But I've tried and failed, and I've been derailed. From dust you picked me up, and now I know.
And that was Grace Made the First Move by Erskine Anivitarte, and we've been having an interview with him today on today's Christian Music, which is an outreach of CSMI, Christian Songwriters and Musicians International. We can be found on the web at www.csminetwork.com. And Erskine, that was a beautiful song God gave you. I believe it's going to touch a lot of hearts. Thank you for bringing it to the program with you. And, to catch people up, we've been talking about how Erskine was raised in church, wasn't thrilled with it, but at the age of 12 on his own in his room, gave his life to Christ, and was just wanting to tell people about Jesus, and was kind of smacked in the face with the fallen world as he tried to do that on in college and with liberal professors and so forth. But I also, if I'm not mistaken, your music was kind of on the side while you were actually ministering, perhaps as a youth minister or in some capacity at your church, and you were at a youth function or a camp somewhere, and you brought some music to the mix, and people said, "What are you doing here? You need to." They saw a gift and a talent in God's hand on you and said, "You need to go pursue that." Did I pretty much sum that up correctly?
Yeah, that's a great summary. I was listening to your summary, and I was thinking, man, that's a great 2-minute summary of my entire life. That's great that you summed that up that quickly. But I would say, yes, you had a period where there's definitely opposition from the world and being confronted with the fallenness of the world. Now that as a Christian music artist, I'm being confronted a lot with the fallenness of the church. And I don't know if you wanted to go there in this broadcast. It's probably a different day.
Brother, you can go there if you want. You can go there if you want. I'll just tell you, we probably have about 7 minutes left, and I do want to share more about your music and some of your advocacies. But you can share whatever you want. You go ahead, give it a plug right now, because there is a great need in the church in America.
Yeah, well, I was just going to just put that there because you had made mention of something that just kind of got me a little bit on fire this morning, because usually at some of my college performances, I'll talk about the fact that I don't know what you think you're going to be if you're going to be a cool Christian. Because in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, Jesus, the preaching of the cross is foolishness to them that are perishing. But to we who are saved is the power of God. And it goes on in that text and talks about there's not many of you are wise, not many of you are noble. And God chooses the lowly and the weak of the world to shame those that are and the despised. So I find a lot of people who are cool, even in Christian music, it looks so cool, but cool just doesn't work.
Brother, we've had a lot of seeker friendliness, and I don't know what God's told different pastors to do with their churches for that, but if we draw on out and really look at the general idea of it, in a sense we could say we're trying to present Christianity, I guess the idea is in the least offensive way, but the cross of Christ is an offense. So at some point, it's going to play out.
You got to turn the corner. And what I've just often, and I tell young people this all the time, younger people than myself, is that, hey, at some point it's not going to be cool to follow Christ. So all those people who are walking around, the jeans and this and that, I mean, that's cool, that's fine. Yeah. But at some point you're going to be on your knees. You're going to be in the dirt. You're going to be serving people. And I've got multiple stories from all over the world where that's the case. And, they don't care that you can play your instrument, that you can write all these songs, that you have these degrees, that you went to this school. Will you give them a cup of water? Will you give them bread? Yeah. Will you get on a plane and travel 36 hours so that you can just go and serve them? And all of a sudden that just doesn't seem as cool to people.
That's right. And, brother, that a lot of that water and that bread, it doesn't just come in a physical form. It comes in the form that you've just been speaking about. It's not necessarily acceptable, but if they'll choose to take it and accept it and receive it, especially those that have already crossed that line and they're being outcast from the world, they want to hear the meat. They want to drink the milk. They want the meat of the gospel. And so that brings me to this next comment, because we're really running short on time. But that is, you've talked about the message of the gospel really becoming an offense to so many. But God has blessed you in your ministry, and He's opened many doors. So tell me, how does that go together?
You
have places that they're not. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is this message is pretty straight. It's maybe an offense to me, but they keep bringing you in.
No,
so how's that?
Yeah, I was going to say it shouldn't be. If you're a follower of Christ, it shouldn't be offensive to you at all. I have on there adoption advocacy. We're a foster family. There's a lot of people who, I like to challenge them and say, I don't really know why you think you should be so comfortable when there's so many kids that are in foster care and there's so many kids that need to be adopted. And you start messing with people's homes, and it's kind of like, this is our sanctuary, this is our place. And we currently have 3 foster kids right now, along with the 2 that we adopted. And I'm not saying that to brag, because sometimes I feel like I'm the worst foster parent in the world, because, I'm on the road traveling and disjointed schedule and all these different things. But at the same time, I realized when we got these other 3 kids that even as a Christian, even as a Western Christian in America doing good things, I was still so very selfish. We can throw money at things because we're an affluent society, and we can often, getting engaged at a superficial level in things because we're Americans. But to actually go deep into what it means to be a follower of Christ and sacrifice, not much there. So I would just say that, for those that recognize, hey, Erskine's not just going to come and just do fluffy. I was in Iowa a few weeks ago, and I was at a concert, and they said, well, we thought you were just going to get up and sing a few songs and, do that kind of thing. And, of course, I did. And that concert was awesome, by the way. I feel like the Lord has blessed me to be able to do that and entertain people and, have a good time. But at the same time, I'm bringing a message with me. I feel like the Lord wants me to say something. I don't stop there. We could go into racial reconciliation because it says diversity spokesman. I know we're up against time, and I'll just simply say this. I think the church in America is starting to figure out, we tried to do this black thing, we tried to do this white thing, and go our separate ways and reach people that way, and we're realizing that we're not reaching people. Because
what happened to the communion of the saints? Just being, there's
the world is recognized that they're strong, have diversity. The church has not recognized that in America by and large. And so people look at the church and they're like, man, they're supposed to love one another. That's very hypocritical over there. I think now pass on that. And so we're finally starting to get to the place where, that multicultural, multinational, multi-generational kind of effort is being made in churches, and it boggles my mind why we're just now starting to figure some of those things out. So there you go.
If brother, I think if we were truly following Christ, and we were experiencing some of what you've talked about experiencing in your walk with Christ, that's what would draw us together in some way. Because that's where I have found the fellowship with my brothers in Christ that are from different cultures, and that is just that's right. It's what we've experienced. How we're being treated by the world because of our walk with Christ and the joy that we find in walking with Christ. I should stop because I don't want to take any more of the little bit of time we have left from you. But if you had anything you wanted to get out, if there's one thing you wanted to leave the people with today, brother, what would that be?
Well, I'm often prompted to tell people where they can hear more information. So ErskineMusic.com, and you can find me on social media, whether that be Instagram or Twitter. It's ERSKIN music, ERSKIN, and then music after that, and then all the different platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Have at it.
Yeah. And so Grace Made the First Move. It'll be featured on your forthcoming full-length release, Love Moves. And right now, what they can find that on Spotify and all the other platforms you just mentioned.